you laughing about?
You know what they're laughing
I'm laughing at Chuck.
Shaq, I know what they're laughing at. You understand?
Shaq is over there crumbling up paper. That's why I was laughing.
That's not what I'm going.
I'm laughing at Chuck.
Come on, tell the truth.
That Bronny what?
Ain't no way he should be in the NBA. Come on. There's no way.
The moment it happened, you could feel the energy inside the arena shift. Before most fans even understood what they were seeing, the cameras had already locked in, social media was exploding, and one name was dominating every conversation: LeBron James. Reports quickly surfaced that LeBron had left the court early, and within minutes the situation snowballed into one of the biggest talking points in basketball. What began as a single moment suddenly became a full-blown media storm. And when LeBron's name is attached to a story, nothing stays small for long. Every reaction gets amplified. Every detail gets scrutinized. Every opinion becomes a debate. Fans rushed online looking for answers. Analysts started breaking down every angle. Was it frustration? Was it disappointment? Was there something bigger happening behind the scenes? The speculation spread fast. Then came the reaction everyone was waiting for. Stephen A. Smith stepped into the conversation. And if you know Stephen A., you already know he wasn't about to hold back. Live on television, he delivered the kind of passionate response that has made him one of the most recognizable voices in sports media. There was no sugarcoating, no playing it safe, and no attempt to soften the criticism. Instead, Stephen A. turned the intensity all the way up. He questioned the optics. He questioned the message it sends. And he questioned what it means when one of the biggest superstars in the history of the game appears to walk away before the final buzzer. The frustration was obvious. The disbelief was impossible to miss. And suddenly, what started as a single moment involving LeBron James had become the biggest debate in basketball. Was it being blown out of proportion? Or was it a legitimate concern that deserved every bit of the attention it was receiving? As the discussion continued to grow, fans found themselves split right down the middle. Some defended LeBron, arguing there could be factors nobody knows about. Others believed the situation reflected poorly on a player whose every move is constantly under the spotlight. One thing was certain: the conversation wasn't going away anytime soon.
Speaking of children, Bronny and Bron playing together.
You have to create your own path. You gotta separate from me. Like, if you don't want to be affiliated with me, go on.
The reaction came fast, and it wasn't subtle. The moment Stephen A. Smith started talking, all the frustration, disbelief, and criticism came pouring out at once. This wasn't a calm breakdown or a carefully measured analysis. This was classic Stephen A. at full volume. In his eyes, LeBron James isn't just another superstar. He's one of the most influential figures the game has ever seen. And when someone of that stature does something that grabs attention, the conversation immediately becomes bigger than the moment itself. That's exactly what happened here. For many fans, leaving before the final buzzer wasn't simply about walking off the court. It became a symbol. Fair or unfair, people attached a larger meaning to it. And almost instantly, the basketball world split into two completely different camps. One side argued that the media was once again turning a minor incident into a massive controversy. To them, the reaction was exaggerated and overblown. The other side viewed it through a different lens. They saw leadership. They saw accountability. And they believed that when you're one of the faces of the league, every action carries weight. Same moment. Completely different interpretations. That's the reality of being LeBron James. Every decision gets analyzed. Every reaction gets debated. Every gesture becomes a headline. How you respond to adversity. How you handle disappointment. How you carry yourself during difficult moments. All of it becomes part of the conversation. And Stephen A. made it very clear which side of that conversation he was on. He wasn't interested in making anyone comfortable. He wasn't trying to soften the criticism. He was challenging the expectations that come with being one of basketball's biggest icons. But while that debate continued to dominate headlines, another viral NBA storyline was quietly gaining momentum somewhere else. And this one involved Bronny James. The discussion surrounding Bronny has already become one of the most polarizing topics in basketball. Every game, every performance, and every headline seems to spark a new round of arguments. Then the topic landed in front of Shaquille O'Neal. And what happened next instantly changed the tone. Instead of tension, instead of outrage, the studio got something completely unexpected. Laughter. Not the polite kind of laugh you hear during a television segment. Not the nervous chuckle people use to avoid controversy. According to reports, Shaq couldn't help but laugh when the conversation shifted toward the non-stop pressure, expectations, and scrutiny surrounding Bronny's basketball journey. The reaction immediately caught everyone's attention. The mood in the room changed. The clips started spreading online. And before long, fans everywhere were debating what Shaq's reaction really meant. Was he laughing at the media obsession? Was he laughing at the unrealistic expectations? Or was there a deeper message hidden behind the moment? Whatever the answer, one thing became clear.
He went on.
Oh, hold on. I want to let my man have the chill about Bronny. How you feel about Bronny?
I don't like Bronny James. I don't. I just feel like he's just one of those, my dad's here. You can't tell me what to do. He's a little kid running around.
I swear, that's what it looked like.
That's what it looked like to me. I don't like.
That contrast is exactly why the story exploded across social media so quickly. On one side, Stephen A. Smith was treating the LeBron situation like a major basketball controversy, connecting it to larger conversations about leadership, accountability, legacy, and what comes with being the face of the NBA. On the other side, Shaquille O'Neal seemed to view the non-stop Bronny James discussion from a completely different angle. Instead of adding more tension to the debate, Shaq's reaction almost suggested that the conversation had become so repetitive, so overanalyzed, and so constant that it was difficult to take seriously anymore. The difference couldn't have been more obvious. One reaction carried maximum intensity. The other exposed how exhausting and overhyped the discussion can sometimes feel. Yet despite their different approaches, both conversations were connected by the same reality. The spotlight that follows the James family everywhere they go. And unlike most athletes, that spotlight never shuts off. Every game becomes a headline. Every comment becomes a debate. Every moment becomes a talking point. What many people are missing is that this story was never just about one early exit, one television segment, or one viral clip. It's about the way modern NBA coverage operates. Today, a single moment can instantly transform into something much bigger than the event itself. When LeBron leaves a game early, the discussion quickly expands beyond basketball. People start talking about leadership. They start talking about professionalism. They start talking about legacy. And when Bronny James enters the conversation, the focus often shifts toward expectations, pressure, opportunity, and the challenges that come with carrying one of the most famous names in sports. Before all the facts are even available, people have already attached larger meanings to the story. That's the environment today's NBA stars live in. And Stephen A.'s reaction fits perfectly within that world. Because from his perspective, when you're the face of the league, there is no such thing as a small moment. There is no such thing as an isolated incident. Every action creates a message. Every decision creates a narrative. And every headline becomes part of the legacy people will remember long after the final buzzer sounds. Whether fans agree with that viewpoint or not, it's the reality that comes with being LeBron James. The spotlight is always on. The expectations never disappear.
And LeBron James electing to get off of social media. Is that because of you, LeBron James? Or is it because of your son, Bronny James, and his struggles in the D-League and the NBA prior to that, college basketball, prior to that, high school basketball when he was an All-American averaging 14 points a game, and people said no All-American averages 14 points a game.
Eventually, every part of the conversation circles back to the same themes: leadership, competitiveness, and the belief that superstar players help define the emotional tone of a game, even when the final result is already decided. That's a major reason Stephen A. Smith's reaction gained so much momentum so quickly. From his perspective, this wasn't simply about one moment or one player leaving early. It was about something bigger. It was about standards. The standards fans expect from the league's biggest stars. The standards that come with being the face of the NBA. And the standards that many believe should never change, regardless of the circumstances. But that's exactly where the debate becomes far more complicated. LeBron James has spent more than 2 decades under a spotlight unlike almost anything sports has ever seen. Every move is captured. Every facial expression is analyzed. Every comment is dissected. And every decision becomes a headline. When you're operating under that level of scrutiny, even ordinary human reactions can suddenly transform into national sports debates. That's the real tension underneath this entire discussion. Where does fair analysis end? And where does non-stop narrative building begin? It's a question that follows LeBron everywhere. Then Shaquille O'Neal enters the conversation and brings a completely different energy. Almost like opening a window inside a room that's getting far too heated. His reaction during the Bronny James discussion didn't feel random at all. If anything, it reflected a completely different philosophy about basketball and the way players should be covered. For years, Shaq has leaned toward a simpler viewpoint. Let young players develop. Stop turning every moment into a crisis. Stop placing impossible expectations on athletes before they've had the opportunity to grow. That's a message he's repeated throughout his media career. So when the Bronny conversation becomes filled with constant debates, endless criticism, and non-stop analysis, Shaq's response cuts through the noise in a completely different way. Some viewers see it as dismissive. Others see it as wisdom from someone who has lived through overwhelming media attention himself. And that's where 2 completely different styles of sports media collide. Stephen A. thrives in an environment where every detail matters. Where every action can be connected to larger discussions about legacy, accountability, and responsibility. Shaq often approaches things from personal experience. His view is that not every moment deserves a dramatic breakdown and that development takes time. When those 2 perspectives collide around the James family, the conversation becomes impossible to ignore. The reported LeBron walk-off story, whether people view it as significant or insignificant, fits perfectly into today's sports media machine. It's visual. It's emotional. It's easy to replay. And it's guaranteed to generate strong opinions online. That's exactly how reaction culture continues to thrive. Once a moment catches fire, the discussion often becomes bigger than the event itself. And when Stephen A. Smith weighs in, his opinions don't simply react to the story. They help shape the way millions of fans view it moving forward. Those conversations don't disappear after one news cycle. They become part of larger debates surrounding LeBron's leadership, his legacy, and how people evaluate his career. At the same time, Shaq's response to the Bronny discussion adds another layer entirely. Because Bronny James isn't treated like a typical young player. His name has been connected to one of basketball's biggest legacies long before he ever stepped onto an NBA court. That creates a unique kind of pressure. Every performance gets magnified. Every mistake becomes a headline. Every success gets compared to expectations that most players never have to face. And before long, the conversation stops being entirely about basketball. It becomes about legacy. It becomes about perception. It becomes about carrying one of the most recognizable names in sports. That's why Shaq's laughter sparked so much discussion. Some people interpreted it as a reaction to the non-stop hype. Others saw it as frustration with the endless cycle of overreaction that surrounds every Bronny storyline. But regardless of how people viewed it, one thing was clear. The spotlight surrounding the James family remains one of the most powerful forces in sports media. Others interpreted Shaq's reaction differently. Some saw it as frustration with the endless cycle of repetitive media narratives. Others viewed it as an acknowledgement that the conversation surrounding Bronny James has grown far bigger than the reality on the court. And that's what makes this entire situation so fascinating. Both storylines are unfolding at the exact same time. LeBron's actions are being analyzed through the lens of leadership, accountability, and legacy. Meanwhile, Bronny's name continues to be pulled into debates about expectations, opportunity, and the weight of carrying one of basketball's most famous last names. When those 2 storylines collide, they create the kind of pressure-filled environment that defines modern NBA media. Every moment is immediately judged. Every action is celebrated, criticized, questioned, or defended. And all of it happens in real time. This is where many young players can find themselves facing a challenge that has nothing to do with basketball itself. The outside noise. The Bronny conversation is a perfect example of how quickly expectations can outrun reality. Before a young player has even been given a consistent opportunity to establish himself, people are already debating what his future should look like. Some are projecting stardom. Others are predicting failure. And somewhere in the middle sits the actual player, still trying to develop his game. Instead of focusing on where Bronny is today, many discussions focus on where people think he should be tomorrow. That's an incredibly difficult position for any young athlete to navigate. At the same time, LeBron remains the central figure around whom all these conversations revolve. Whether he's on the court, on the bench, recovering from injury, or reportedly leaving a game early, attention follows him everywhere. His presence alone can completely change the direction of a national sports conversation. That's a major part of what Stephen A. Smith was reacting to. From his perspective, the discussion wasn't only about one specific moment. It was about what that moment represented. Because when LeBron is involved, people rarely evaluate events in isolation. Every action becomes part of a larger narrative. Every decision becomes another chapter in a story that has been unfolding for more than 2 decades. To Stephen A., moments like these connect to broader discussions about how superstar players navigate the later stages of their careers. How leadership is measured when experience becomes just as valuable as athletic dominance. And how influence can sometimes matter as much as performance. That's why his reaction carried so much intensity. But the opposing viewpoint deserves attention as well. Not every situation has to become a legacy-defining moment. Not every headline requires a larger meaning. Sometimes a basketball game is simply a basketball game. Sometimes an early exit, a substitution, or a coaching decision is influenced by circumstances that aren't immediately visible to the public. That's why many fans believe context should come before conclusions. The challenge is that today's media environment rarely allows situations to remain simple for very long. The moment a clip goes viral, interpretations begin. Theories emerge. Arguments form. And before long, the conversation has grown far beyond the original event itself. That's the reality of modern sports coverage. A single moment can become a national debate within minutes. And when names like LeBron James, Bronny James, Shaquille O'Neal, and Stephen A. Smith are attached to the story, the attention only grows stronger. Whether people agree with the criticism, defend the players, or simply grow tired of the non-stop discussion, one thing remains true. The spotlight surrounding the James family continues to be one of the most powerful forces in sports media. Every clip gets shared. Every moment gets replayed. Every reaction gets analyzed from every possible angle. And before long, the conversation becomes far bigger than the event that started it. That's how modern sports stories explode. And that's exactly why this situation isn't disappearing after a single night or one television segment. What we're witnessing is the collision of 3 powerful forces that dominate today's NBA landscape. Superstar legacy debates, non-stop media coverage, and massive public expectations. LeBron James finds himself at the center of one storm. Bronny James stands in the middle of another. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith and Shaquille O'Neal represent 2 completely different philosophies about how these stories should be viewed. One side believes every major moment deserves intense scrutiny. Every action deserves analysis. Every decision deserves accountability. The other side believes people often overcomplicate situations that don't require endless debate. That players need room to grow. That not every headline deserves to become a controversy. And that's where the clash begins. Those viewpoints continue colliding over and over again, fueling arguments, creating viral moments, and keeping basketball fans talking long after games are over. Because in reality, the biggest question may not be whether LeBron's reported early exit was justified. And it may not be whether Shaq's laughter during the Bronny discussion was appropriate. The bigger question is something much broader. What kind of NBA conversation culture are we creating? Are fans building an environment where every moment instantly becomes a full-scale controversy? Or are we creating space for context, patience, and perspective before rushing to conclusions? That's the debate sitting underneath all of this. And as long as those competing philosophies continue battling across television, podcasts, social media, and sports talk shows, the cycle isn't slowing down anytime soon. In today's NBA media landscape, the conversation rarely ends when the final buzzer sounds. One debate fades. Another immediately takes its place. One headline disappears. Another takes over the timeline. And this story is clearly nowhere near finished. No matter where you stand on the issue, one thing is impossible to ignore. Moments like these continue proving just how powerful the NBA media machine has become. A reported early exit can dominate national headlines. A studio reaction can spread across social media in minutes. And a discussion involving a young player can spark debates throughout the entire basketball world. For some fans, it's about leadership. For others, it's about accountability. For others, it's about perspective and avoiding unnecessary overreactions. But regardless of which side people choose, the conversation surrounding LeBron James, Bronny James, Stephen A. Smith, and Shaquille O'Neal aren't going anywhere. In fact, they're only getting louder. What makes this story so fascinating is that strong opinions exist on every side. Some viewers agree completely with Stephen A.'s passionate analysis. Others believe Shaq's reaction exposed just how exaggerated certain debates have become. And that's exactly why people keep talking about it. Because there isn't one answer that satisfies everyone. The discussion continues. The arguments continue. And the spotlight remains as bright as ever. Now we want to hear from you. Do you agree with Stephen A.'s perspective? Or do you think the entire situation was blown far out of proportion? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and join the conversation. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more NBA content, and share this video with fellow basketball fans who want to weigh in. Thanks for watching.